All right, so you're gunning for that AWS certification, right? Well, if you really want to pass, there's one topic you absolutely cannot ignore. It's the thing that connects all the theory to the real world, the AWS Site-to-Site VPN. Today, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know to totally nail this on the exam.
I bet you're already deep in the trenches, right? Studying VPCs, EC2, S3, all the big ones for the Solutions Architect exam. But have you ever stopped to think, what actually connects all that cool cloud stuff back to a company's existing business? That's the missing piece we're going to put in place right now.
And that piece is what we call hybrid networking. Now, let's be super clear here. This is not just some random topic you memorize for the exam and then forget. No way. This is a fundamental day one skill for any real cloud architect. It's all about how you link up a company's old school data centers with the incredible power and scale of AWS.
So this brings us to the big question, the core problem you'll have to solve. Just picture it. Over here, you've got your company's physical data center, servers humming away. And over there, you've got your shiny, secure, isolated virtual private cloud, your own little slice of the AWS universe. So how in the world do you connect them? Securely, right across the big, scary public internet. That's the challenge.
Yep, that right there is the hybrid cloud challenge in a nutshell. You've got the physical on-prem world on one hand and the virtual software-defined world of AWS on the other. And your job as the architect is to get them talking to each other. Not just talking, but doing it securely and super efficiently. The best way to think about it is like you're building a digital bridge. But listen, this isn't some rickety rope bridge. It has to be a fortress, secure, totally private, and rock-solid reliable. And you guessed it, one of the absolute best tools in the AWS toolbox for this job is the Site-to-Site VPN. Okay, so to really get how this whole VPN thing works, we need to look at its anatomy, right? Let's take it apart piece by piece. These are the building blocks you're definitely going to see on the exam, and more importantly, the ones you'll use to build your own solutions. Let's break them down.
All right, first up, let's start on your side of the connection. We're talking about inside your company's actual data center. Here, you've got something called the customer gateway device. This is a real physical thing. It could be a router, a firewall, maybe even a software appliance. But the key thing is, it's the starting point, the on-ramp for the entire VPN connection.
Okay, now let's flip over to the AWS side. Inside the AWS console, you create a resource that's just called a customer gateway. And this is super important. This is not a physical device. It's purely a logical thing. Think of it like a digital business card or a placeholder in AWS that just holds information about your real physical device, like its public IP address.
Now listen up, because this is a classic exam question designed to trip you up. So let's be crystal clear. Customer gateway device, that's the physical box in your data center. Customer gateway, that's the logical thing you create in AWS to represent the box. Got it? Physical versus logical. Nailing this difference is absolutely key.
All right, so we've got our on-prem device represented in AWS. So what's actually happening on the AWS side of this digital bridge? Well, right out of the box, every single site-to-site VPN you create comes with two separate tunnels. Why two? For redundancy. These tunnels connect from your on-prem setup to a gateway inside AWS. And which gateway you pick, well, that's probably the single biggest architectural decision you're going to make.
And that brings us to this critical decision, your choice of AWS gateway. Seriously, this can be a make or break choice when you're designing a hybrid network. You've got two main options on the menu: the virtual private gateway, which everyone calls a VGW, and the transit gateway, or TGW.
Understanding the difference between these two is, well, everything. A VGW is the simple option. Think of it this way. It attaches to one and only one VPC. It's a straight one-to-one connection. A TGW, on the other hand, oh man, it's a beast. It's a powerful networking hub, basically a cloud router that can connect to thousands of VPCs. So it's a one-to-many model.
So here's what that VGW model looks like. You see? Your on-prem network has a direct line into one single VPC. It's super straightforward, it's clean, and honestly, it's perfect for simple setups. But you can probably already see the problem, right? What happens when you have two VPCs? Or 10? It just doesn't scale. Okay, now let's compare that to the power of the transit gateway. Look at this diagram. Your on-prem network makes just one connection to the TGW, and then the TGW acts like a central train station, routing traffic out to all your different VPCs. For pretty much any modern cloud setup, this is the way to go. It's way more scalable and, believe me, a million times easier to manage as your company grows.
Of course, having a connection is great, but what good is it if it's not reliable? A bridge that might collapse isn't a very good bridge. So for the exam, and absolutely for any real production system, you have to architect for high availability. That digital bridge needs to be tough enough to handle things when they go wrong.
And here's the good news. AWS basically hands you high availability on a silver platter. Every single site-to-site VPN comes with 2 redundant tunnels right out of the box. The capability is built right in. Your job, as the architect, is just to make sure you set up your side of the connection correctly to actually use it.
Okay, pro tip for the exam. If you see the words reliability or fault tolerance in a question about VPNs, this should be your mental checklist. Ready? 1. You configure both of those tunnels. 2. Remember that AWS already puts its endpoints in different availability zones for you. 3, and this is the part people forget, on your side, you need 2 separate physical devices. And finally, 4, you have to use dynamic routing with BGP. That's what lets the traffic automatically flip over to the working tunnel if one goes down.
Okay, let's bring this all home. We've covered a fair bit of ground here, so let's boil it all down to the absolute key takeaways you need to lock in for that exam.
Honestly, just think of this as your exam cheat sheet. If the question describes a simple setup connecting to just one VPC, your brain should scream VGW. If the scenario talks about connecting tons of VPCs, making management easier, or scaling up bandwidth, it's got to be TGW. And the second you see a word like fault-tolerant or resilient, the answer is going to be about using both tunnels with 2 devices on your end.
But hang on, here's a little pro-level secret that shows you're not just memorizing, you're actually thinking like an architect. Look, TGW is almost always the right answer for modern setups, but there are edge cases. Imagine you just need to do one single massive data transfer. In that very specific case, the simpler, dumber VGW can actually be cheaper. It's a great reminder that being a great architect isn't just about knowing the tech, it's about balancing performance, scale, and cost.
So, to wrap it all up, let's leave you with a classic exam-style question. Your company needs to connect 50, that's 50, VPCs to a new data center. Based on everything we just talked about, which AWS gateway are you going to choose, and more importantly, why? If you can answer that question without even blinking, then you've absolutely got this. Good luck on the exam!